and welcome back to Formula 1 97 and Justice for Olivier Panis, where round 15 brings us to the historic Nürburgring. This 1997 event marked only the 5th time that Formula 1 visited the GP layout of the Nürburgring. It was technically also the 5th ever Luxembourg Grand Prix, although admittedly the previous 4, which took place from 1949 to 1952, were all non-championship races, and they all took place in Luxembourg, which the Nürburgring isn't. So, why does this track get the honour of hosting the first World Championship Luxembourg Grand Prix? Basically, all the other names were taken. Hockenheim had the German Grand Prix, Jerez will host the European Grand Prix to close the season, so they needed another name, so they just grabbed Luxembourg. I mean, in fairness to the Nürburgring, Luxembourg is kind of close to Luxembourg, in the same way that you could have a Grand Prix in Sunderland and call it the Scottish Grand Prix. Anyway, this would be the first of 2 times that the Nürburgring would host the Luxembourg Grand Prix. And as we are at round 15, that means the qualifying challenge is closed. Thank you to everyone who has entered throughout the season. I really appreciate it, and thank you again to Racing Di Milano for basically posting the challenge. But a reminder that charity predictions, they are still open. They're open until the 17th and penultimate round in Portugal. And in the final round, I will announce the charity and how you can donate. But as ever, it's been great this season. More people than ever have gotten involved. A healthy mix of passes and fails in terms of predictions. And as ever, thank you very much to everyone. It's been great. Qualifying for the 1997 Luxembourg Grand Prix saw Mika Hakkinen finally make good on a series of promising performances by delivering his first ever pole position, just ahead of the 2 Williams. Michael Schumacher improved on recent poor Saturday performances by getting his Ferrari into 5th. However, the big story, at least from our perspective anyway, was Olivier Panis. His first race back from injury after breaking his legs at the Canadian Grand Prix, and he qualified a respectable 11th just behind Jean Lacey, and still managed to gap his teammate Nakano by over a second. Just first race back from breaking both your legs, still a second quicker. I mean, if you're Shinji Nakano, you're going to feel pretty rubbish about that, I imagine. Jarno Trulli did not return to his Minardi seat, with Tarso Marquez seeing out the year, but I think by this point conversations are already happening in the background about Trulli's future. He had impressed during his time in the seat, and he would, in November, be confirmed as Olivier Panis' teammate at Prost for 1998 onwards. I said at the end of the last episode that this is probably going to be a bit of an unknown quantity. I'm not sure how we're going to fare, so I am just going to stick with Panis' return real-life result as the target, 11th or higher. I realise the qualifying targets have been a bit up and down throughout this season. I'm pretty sure we have qualified in the top 6 and missed out on a qualifying objective, but then also qualified outside the top 10 and hit a qualifying objective. But I think that's just the nature of maybe the teams and drivers we are following throughout this season, that sometimes those targets have been a bit movable. Also my performance as well, let's be honest. And I know what you're thinking. Wasn't there something about me yeeting a McLaren into next year back in Austria and some kind of qualifying penalty? Yeah, we'll address that in the race, that's coming up, but for now, here is my lap 5 of qualifying, and we head towards the Castrol S, and the best way to attack this is kind of cut across the front of that inside curb, so you kind of flatten the chicane, but I've gone a bit deep and not taken that the best, so already a little bit slower than we should be. Brake just before this entrance curb on the right and just guide the car through quite nicely, and then same with the forward chicane, is just regulate the throttle, keep a nice wide line, and you can get on the throttle as early as possible. Head down towards the end of sector 1 to the Dunlop curve. Again, keep it wide. The thing you want to do is not kind of cut in too early, get on the throttle as early as possible, regulate it on exit so you can use a bit of the exit curb, and again you're just kind of gaining speed before you've left the corner properly. Through what will become the Schumacher S, it's the shell curve at this moment in time, brake at the end of this entry curb and you've got a lovely little run through the sport walk curb. This one's a bit difficult because you don't want to run wide as there's no exit curb or run off, and we head now towards the Vidal chicane. Very easy to flip through, but you still want to take your time with it. You want to be able to kind of have a moment on the brakes, angle the car properly, and we do this nicely here. Get a little bit heavy on the curb on the entrance in the first one, but not too bad. Round the Coca-Cola curve, I've cut in a little bit, could carry a bit more speed, and we head towards the line. Not my tidiest lap. I could have gone quicker. Why didn't I? Oh! No! No! Oh, I've never had a fuel line failure that late in the day before. God damn. It is fortunate I just put in my best lap of the session. Unfortunate that I didn't have basically half the session to go quicker. Here we go. What a surprise. Jacques Villeneuve on pole. It's an all-Williams front row. Frentzen up there is not what we want to see. Schumacher third, Lacey fourth, Berger fifth, Irvine sixth. Can we be in the top 10? No. Hakkinen, the real pole sitter, 10th. We are 12th and we just miss out on target by 1 place. And we are 1 ahead of the menace that is Shinji Nakano. I could have. I mean, I don't think I was going to be on pole, but I definitely think I could have gained a couple more places, which could be vital. It's typical. Frentzen is second. So, in the real Luxembourg Grand Prix, for the second time this season, David Coulthard flew off the line, jumping from 6th to 2nd, just behind teammate Hakkinen. Just behind, Ralf Schumacher made sure that he wasn't getting any presents off brother Michael for Christmas, as he squeezed teammate Fisichella, caused an accident that basically pushed Fisichella towards Schumacher, and the resulting damage meant Schumacher would retire a lap later. Both the Jordans out. In fact, Eddie Jordan probably not going to get him a Christmas card either. McLaren had been getting better and better as the season progressed, only to be undone frequently by their Mercedes engine. But today, Hakkinen and Coulthard were unstoppable, and they would just drive off into the sunset without a problem until both of their engines blew up within a lap of each other. Pain. So, Villeneuve basically inherited what was an easy McLaren 1-2, and he would go on to win. Lacey with a fabulous drive to 2nd from 10th, and Olivier Panis grabbed a point in his first race back. What an achievement. And it was almost 2 points, but Pedro Diniz managed to hold him off in the arrows for a pretty good drive of his own to take 5th. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and honestly, I am concerned about Frentzen being in 2nd. I think this could be really detrimental to us. So, again, from where we are, just try and get in the points. Hopefully that fuel line failure, though, means we're not going to have any reliability issues. Hopefully that's it for the weekend. But yeah, let's see if we can get points. It's going to be a tough ask, but... The first ever World Championship Luxembourg Grand Prix is... Go! Oh, that's a terrible start! Tried to time it to get on the throttle just as the lights went out and missed it. Right, time to concentrate. It's going to be a bit of squeeze into turn 1. It's not a good start. That's a terrible start, to be honest. But we're not falling away, so let's just see if we can get at them up the hill. Oh, whoa! The worst time for an accidental look back, and it's ended up being a pretty good move. Up the inside. And that's a pretty good move as well. Up to 11th. Oh! Thanks for the push along, Shinji. You know what? He's made up for Spain for that. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. No, he hit me. And he's caused himself bother. Right, can we get up the inside of this Sauber?
Was that a bit of argy-bargy there, Martin? You're right there, Murray.
Yeah, you are right there, Murray. Bit of argy-bargy, but we managed to hold it together, and we take the position. Although that has just reminded me, I was supposed to be penalising myself, wasn't I? For oh, crap. I was supposed to do reduced qualifying running for the incident in Austria. Oh. Let's say the FIA was still deliberating on it, and they're going to make a decision by Suzuka. Because let's say we appealed. We appealed the result while I'm busy making up law. For the background, I've lost a place. I need to try and get past this Sauber. Because I'm not actually that slow. And if I can just get back on it, I might gain some places. Trying to switch back for the exit of the chicane, not quite. And we do same again. There's no there wasn't a collision, believe it or not, but I did force Herbert to come to a bit of a stop. That was definitely a big dive bomb. Right, first bit of clear air. Can I, oh dear, on raw pace, actually catch up to these cars up here? Not when I'm taking corners like that, dear me. We are losing time. Oh, we have gained time. I suppose that chicane, that final sector, isn't bad for us. I'm very scruffy at the minute, and if I was a bit tidier, I would definitely be gaining on cars ahead. The minute, though, I've got to go defensive again. Okay, that's good. Can we close it again? Right. Come on, head down.
The top positions are first, Williams #1. In second, heinz-harald Frentzen. In third, Michael Schumacher. He's coming up from behind now. His lap time is quicker than the car.
Not bad at all. Sorry, I'm not talking much. I'm just trying to zone in. Scary, but we're okay. We're still in it, still chasing. Bit of a poor final corner though. I've taken that better. What's the gap down to now? Held. Terrible final corner.
And it's all over. It's all over for him here at the Nürburgring. He probably just lost concentration.
My car just blew up, Murray. Well. well. Qualifying and the race, fuel line failures. And I was actually quick. I actually had race pace for once. The two tracks I've had race pace at, Silverstone and here to a lesser extent, and the engine blew up. Well, that cements my feelings that when I next do an F197 playthrough, because I'm doing it again because I want to beat it, I'm not having failures on. Because they affect you more than anyone else on the grid. Yes, you see other cars randomly get failures, but you as an individual just seem to get at least one thing a weekend. In this case, more. So, Jacques Villeneuve wins from Heinz-harald Frentzen. Cool. Schumacher third, Fisichella fourth, Alesi fifth, and Irvine sixth. In terms of the championship, well, so the gap is up to 15 points now between Villeneuve and Schumacher with 3 rounds to go. 30 points left, 15 between them. It's an important win for him at a time when Schumacher was closing the gap. He's led the whole way through. Can he see it out? In the meantime, Frentzen retakes third. He's now 3 points clear ahead of us. And the next few races are going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Even though it's only 3 points, it's going to be hard to overcome, especially if Frentzen's going to still be in the points. In the meantime, Alesi shuts the gap to Irvine, but he remains 6th, just behind the second Ferrari. In the Constructors, okay, hang on, I need to math again. In the Constructors, Williams are almost there. There are 48 points possible remaining. Williams are 43 clear. And that's only 48 remaining if it's Ferrari 1-2s all the way to the end with barely any Williams. They're 5 points away. They are that close. Williams probably going to wrap it up in the next round. In the meantime, we're still 3rd. Alesi scoring points means the gap is down to 17, but hopefully there's not going to be a big turnaround. We might still get a good 3rd for Prost. Jordan now looking a little bit more comfortable in 5th, while Arrows are hanging on still ahead of McLaren for a famous 6th place. Well, if it doesn't go from bad to worse, if we've been talking about Monza for most of the season about, oh, we're definitely going to do well there, then welcome to the opposite. Welcome to Suzuka, where we are definitely going to do It's just filled with the sort of corners where the AI are quick and we are not. Also, the penalty that the FIA were deliberating about, they are going to deliver on that and punish Olivier Panis for the qualifying session in the next round. So we're going to have that to deal with as well. Next week is about damage limitation. Oh well, we can let a lot of things go. I'm not letting it bother me as much. It was just kind of, rolling with the punches. I can take heart that I was doing quite well there and catching up until things that were just completely out of my control. Them's the brakes. Well, actually, it was the fuel line, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.